Well, for this slide out desk for my toolboxes, I shot a whole bunch of video and I totally lost the first half of it, so I'm going to try and briefly go over what I did. I cut the top piece, I cut the bottom piece out, and I just measured my bottom toolbox, what the width of it was and the depth of it was to get my measurements. And then for the side rails that you'll see shortly in the video, I just cut out of a block. I cut a groove slightly bigger than 3/4 on each side and on my backboard so that sliding shelf would just slide in and out of it. And all I did was wax those edges. And that's all that is for the slide. Depending on how you want to make one, if you're going to copy this, just measure the top of your bottom box. Make sure it comes all the way out to the face. I left it about a 1/4 inch short of the face and about an 1/8 inch on each side of the side so that it didn't fit in there super tight. And you'll see in the rest of the video pretty much how I put it together. Well, I didn't realize it, but my memory card on my camera ran out right in the middle of this. But that is the finished edge after I ironed it on. And then I shaved the top and the bottom with the chisel and the sides with a utility knife. So now when the drawer comes out, the face will be on this when it's finished, but you'll see the sides and there'll be a finished edge. And I'll touch the very edges up with some white paint where some of the microchips came out of the melamine. Now I need to put my stops on and my top on. So for my drawer stops, I'm going to sand the block just a little so the glue sticks. And I'm going to brad nail it on. That's all I'm going to do. Simple, fast, easy. I'm going to use a slightly rougher piece of sandpaper just to hit the back side of this, because it's not going to stick to the melamine all that great in the first place. I'm just going to use some 3/4 inch brad to shoot that in there so it doesn't go all the way through, it just holds it in place. I've already marked exactly where I want it to be so that I don't misplace it. Now, when I slide the shelf out, it'll hit the stops that are glued to the lid at the top board, and it'll stop right there. It won't come out any further. With the weight of the toolbox on top of that 3/8 ply plus a 3/8 and the 1/4 inch here, this should hold solid. And then I can still slide that back because I made the blocks stop so it leaves enough room for it to slide in. And I actually marked it so this stops flush with the front and those blocks stop it from sliding in too far, so I don't get a sunken in slide face. Now I just gotta get the pieces on the bottom side of this. We're good to go. So what I did is I slid this out to where it's supposed to stop. And I marked on top of here where these pieces on the lid need to stop, so it stops the drawer. So I'm just going to set this up here. I want it to be flush to the back when I set it. And I'm going to mark exactly where that has to be. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And then as far as how far in we're going, I'm just going to measure from the edge to in here at a 1/4 inch. So I'm going to come in from the edge of my board. Inch and 3/4. Now I just got to glue and shoot this on. This I'm lining up in the back. The box itself. I just gotta see how it works. Nice. That'll stop me from falling out. I just gotta get the face on. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna cord around the edges, maybe just sand them off a bit. Get the face on there, get my edges, then I'll stain it, seal it. I think that's gonna be real nice between my toolboxes. That's gonna be perfect. Doing a little bit of paperwork, a little bit of drawing, whatever I need to do. So I've got my piece cut. I've marked out my slot for the tray to come out of on both ends. And my issue is how to cut this out without chipping that face really bad. So I'm going to try to drill a hole jigsaw out enough that I can drop this into the table saw and cut it nice and straight without making too much curve with that jigsaw. So now I'm going to run it on the table saw up to my corners, a little bit shy so I don't cut into the corners with the table saw. And I've got the blade set high enough that the down cut shouldn't chip the face, as long as it doesn't blow out the edge I've already got. Finish off my corner here with the jigsaw, and then we're going to test fit it. And I think I'm going to have to shave a little more out of the sides here. I'm not positive yet. Hopefully it fits on the first try. I'm just going to put a nail in the middle of my shelf here so I can pull it out by hand. See if it's hitting this before I go nailing anything together. Well, that looks pretty good. I'm going to throw a clamp on there, hold it in place, and then I'm going to run it in now. And I'm thinking on that faceplate, the bevel in the back, so when this face hits it, it doesn't catch any lip. That seems to work just fine. So if I bevel the back side of this face just a little, you won't see it from the front. And if that slide ever catches it, it won't make any difference at all. So I'm going to take the orbital sander to curve the inside edge of this just a little. So just to make sure I'm the exact width of my shelf's made out of this melamine. I'm just taking a scrap piece and setting my guide right to it. Now maybe a little wide to start. It's got a little bit of play in there, but it seems pretty good. And I'm going to cut it out of this piece here. Alright, so I've got my piece cut, and it was sticking out a little proud from the face when I put it in there, so I turned it over and I just sanded down the back side with the palm sander. Glue it up real quick by hand. Brad nail it on. My only concern is when I go to brad nail it on there that I don't push the shelf back past that face and set it back down in the box. Fine. Goes in all the way flush. Slides back out easy. That's gonna work. Then I'll round my edges just a little, sand it up. Now I got the basic box put together. I'm just gonna take my palm sander and I'm gonna hit all these edges that just stick just a slight proud. I'm gonna try not to hit the top finishes. I'm gonna take all those edges down all the way around the box, rough sand it, and then after that I'm gonna go through and hit it with some 220. And I also want to go in and fill in all these nail holes and small chips with some wood putty. And then I'll do some finer sanding on it later tonight once that dries. Then it'll be ready to stain. I decided I don't want to put a handle on the front because this is so small. I want to push it and pop it out. I've got some of these one-touch magnetic latches for cabinets, where you just pop it in and pop it out. But instead of using it for a door on the inside, I'm going to put it in the back of the shelf so it pushes the drawer out. And I've chiseled the hole that I had in the back out just big enough. You can see the shelf in there. That I can take this guy, install it in here, so it'll pop that shelf in and out. And what I'm going to do to hold that, instead of trying to glue it in there or screw it in, is I'm going to put washers on the back and screw them down to hold that on there. And that'll hold it in place. So right now I'm going to drill screw holes through my washers. So I set up a little jig here just for the washers. And I can take and snap these in between the nails there, and it'll hold it in place while I drill it so it doesn't jump around as long as I go easy and I don't flip that washer. So now those one touches work in the back, but I had previously cut this and installed it and done everything before I decided to put those in. And they didn't have an exact size. It works. It'll pop it in and out. So it'll work for a pressure stop. Even with a little pressure on here, it works, and I need to sand that. But that's as far in as I can go. So I need to mark this, pull my drawer out, cut off the face of this, which isn't going to be an issue. I'll use a straight edge with a skill saw. And then reface this drawer with a slide edge so that when I close it, it's flush and not sticking out. And it still chipped the heck out of it. Bottom side's nice and clean. Should just flip it and cut it from the bottom, I guess. That's alright. Doesn't bother me that much. So, got the slide pretty much done. Pops out with those push buttons really nice. Now I'm going to go through and stain it. And I'm just using the same stain I used on one of my other projects. This Cherry 235. I'm just going to use a paper towel to apply it. Well, that's my slide out desktop for drawing on finished. Push button release, so I don't have to have any handles on it. I can slide it out and write on it. And I'm going to sandwich that between my two toolboxes. That'll go in my bottom box, and then my top box will go on top of it. So when I'm at work, I have a small area to stack my toolboxes.
got a place I can do my paperwork on. Right at my toolbox.